All right, guys, we're back for another show. And we got the webcam this time, so I don't really know how this looks. I got to get this lower somehow, but we're gonna have to worry about that later. All right, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about this phenomenon of voluntary celibacy, also known as the Volcel movement. So a lot of people know about the incel movement, and incel is involuntary celibate. Celibacy is basically a derogatory term used for guys who are unable to get laid and hate women. Um, I think if you've been online and you've made any kind of talking point whatsoever demanding women take responsibility for some of their actions, you're going to get called an incel, even if you have kids and you're married. Um, Voluntary celibacy is a bit different than incel. Volcel is different than incel. And genuine incels, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't pile on with the sort of um, verbiage about them because it's frankly a talking point from people who I don't really think are operating in good faith. Um, and I do think it's a problem that a lot of guys out there can't get laid and struggle with women and have emotional problems with women because they feel rejected. A lot of my work actually tries to help those men and take the poison out of them because obviously hating women is not going to help them to get good results with women. But nevertheless, there is a lot of negative energy in that community, and because it comes from a lot of pain. Volcel's very different. Voluntarily celibate men are men who choose not to sleep with women, or at least most women. Um, they, in these men, in contrast to many of the sort of incels, tend to be actually in pretty good shape. They tend to be more successful. And so these are men who are actually sexually desirable, who are choosing not to sleep with women. And one of the things that's been interesting about this to see this play out is just to see how angry women get about it, which makes a lot of sense. Because for women's power over men comes from sex fundamentally. Now, of course, it's not only sex, it's also, emotional validation for a man. But because men tend to get their core emotional validation from a woman through sex, or at least sex is the most powerful mechanism for a woman to give a man the emotional validation he needs. It's it's something that for a man to turn down a woman is basically um men are supposed to want women. Men are supposed to want the opportunity to sleep with a woman. So if a man turns down a woman, it's a massive rebuke to the woman because to a certain extent, and I don't personally believe this, but I'm just saying how a lot of the women will tend to present themselves. A lot of women unconsciously understand that because they have terrible attitude and they're very entitled people, that the only thing that they can really offer a man is sex. That's pretty much the core thing that they can offer a man. So when a man turns them down, it's like they are worthless. They have no value. This is where you get the expression of "hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." You turn down a woman, um, she's gonna hate you, and this is especially true when a woman's overt. One of the reasons, for instance, that women are not usually overt about their interest in a guy is because they always have to have plausible deniability. They always have to be able to make it so that the narrative is, "Well, uh, I wasn't really interested. I never made a move." If a woman makes a very overt move towards a man and gets turned down, it's very crushing for her self-esteem. Um, in fact, a lot of times, the reason that a woman will leave a guy after he has performance issues is not because she views him as some sort of, you know, unattractive guy, or that he's messed up, he's not good in bed, so she's done with him. It's very often because if you can't get it up, a woman takes it personally. She feels like she's not hot or sexy enough, that you're not turned on, and so she'll take it really personally, which is one of the reasons why you you don't wanna say stuff like, "This doesn't usually happen." Because while that, maybe makes you come across a little bit less bad, debatably, it makes her feel significantly worse, because now it's like, "Okay, well, it never usually happens, it just happens with me, therefore I have a problem." Okay. So, with the Volcel thing, the reason this movement is developed is it's basically a movement of, okay, as a guy, you can get control over your sexual urges, and you're not going to sleep with some random, girl who puts her pussy on a platter, so to speak. Um, this is actually how you sort of take back control and take back power as men. And I think some guys view it very much from the standpoint of restructuring society. I do think that there is some merit in that. But the most important reason to gain control of your sexuality and not sleep with necessarily any random woman, any attractive woman who offers it to you, is because it increases your personal power, and it allows you to also assess women. This is most important, arguably. It allows you to assess women on qualities besides for sex. And so the way that society has gone these days is that, um, because of the hypersexualization of society, it's been a way to hijack men away from leading from higher inputs. So now at this point, men are pretty much lust driven, especially when you have porn and the impact of porn on men, which kind of helps to wire that circuit. So it primes men to be sexually submissive to women, sexually, how do I put it? To basically look at them as there to meet a woman's sexual needs. And so if a woman wants it, they're lucky to offer, they should be offering it. And the only time that that rule is kind of broken is when a woman is, not attractive. Then there's there's some degree of understanding, okay, she's not that attractive. Although even that's kind of shame today, and that's why you see many, many of the most hardcore feminist women are women who complain the most about men sexualizing them, and that's all bullshit. It's just designed to, for those women to get an ego boost, to make it seem like a man would actually, you know, go out of his way to try to do something to them, which I'm not saying never happens, but it's usually an attention grab. It's usually, well, we're not gonna give it to men. Like, it's like a preemptive strike, like, men aren't gonna take it. No, men don't wanna sleep with us, so we're gonna preemptively say we're not gonna give it to them. Um, you know, if you're an attractive guy and you express interest in one of those in a very unattractive girl, she's gonna be very, if she can trust you enough, she can believe you. She might not believe you, so she might put up a barrier for a bit, but if she believes you, she's gonna fall hard. I'm not saying do this, you definitely shouldn't do it, but I'm just explaining some of these dynamics. So, I actually think that Volcel it's a pretty powerful movement. Um, anything that encourages men to get control over their sex drive and encourages men to choose women based on more than just sex, I think moves men in general to a higher state of being. Um, and very crucially, it helps to basically destroy this, almost calcified narrative. It's kind of like a cognitive dissonance, because they say on one hand that women are worth so much more than sex, but then in practice, what they really do is they promote the sexual aspect of women. So I think it also takes away some of that power for women. If it takes away that power, it means that women maybe have to offer more than it. And you look back in the past, women would never sort of present themselves first and foremost as a sexual object, um, unless they were a prostitute, right? And the reason for that was because that was sort of constrained away from women, and so women would find other ways to make themselves, um, marriage material, that they knew how to cook, sew, etc. And look, I'm not an old fashioned guy, and I don't think that women should fully take away their sex appeal. I'm not calling for women to take away assets that they have. Um, but I think defensively speaking, men need to be aware of the limitations of it, and I think women also need to be to not give too much power to this tool they have in their toolkit, because it can really it turns them into exactly what many of these women ultimately fear, which is to be just used as an object. Um, so I think Volcel is on balance a pretty good movement, a pretty good movement. And one of the key ways that even in dating, if you're going to get higher quality women, one of the key ways you will do this is that you will not sleep with women super early on, because that way you're able to assess them more clearly. And also, when you are drawn more towards a woman sexually and you start to ignore other variables, you almost your energy gets diffused and your energy starts to get sucked in by women who maybe are very good at exercising that sexual muscle, but not so much, doesn't have much else to offer. You may know that, and so you may not commit to those women, but even by continuing to, liaise with them, what happens is that you end up reducing your focus on a woman who is really more valuable. And I've found this over and over again with clients, that they meet the woman of their dreams once they start turning down sex from other women. Then it's like it tends to happen very quickly, that then the woman that they're really looking for presents herself, 'cause these guys at this point have their sexual energy and everything so much more focused and locked in. So that's what I think about Volcel as a dating strategy, as a lifestyle strategy. If you like this video, please drop a like on the video itself, helps with the algorithm, and leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you all. See you next time.